it's Emily, back again to talk about week 2's content for our discussion board. I really thought the readings and podcasts this week were really interesting, talking about the history and like how LGBT mental health is studied. And I really enjoyed the podcasts, and I felt like it helped me connect all of the readings together and the different frameworks that we were talking about in like a way, like an historical perspective. I feel like societal and medical understandings of sexual minority identities have drastically evolved over the past like 50 to 75 years or so. And these drastic changes, I think, do contribute to different medical, and physical and mental health outcomes in LGBT and sexual minority individuals. You know, for example, being in the closet is pretty stressful. It's not a great thing. But if you're involuntarily outed, you know, what do you think might be worse? You know, the threat of being ostracized, which still isn't great, or the threat of electroconvulsive therapy or conversion therapy. I mean, one is slightly better than the other, you know? And I feel like this kind of relates to what we saw in the readings about how over time a lot of LGBT individuals had less discrimination the older they got, or they experienced less discrimination the older they got, which partially probably has to do with the strides in LGBT acceptance in our modern society. But also, I do think it plays into, and they brought this up, the ability to avoid discrimination by kind of picking your social circles, picking who you interact with, you know, community organizing, which provides like potential protective effects from these discriminatory effects on health outcomes. And, you know, the community organizing is still prevalent today, especially with attacks on LGBT rights in the US. It's only been maybe 10 years since gay marriage was legalized in the US, and it's already being attacked. So, you know, we're still seeing negative mental health outcomes as a result of these issues. And while reclassification definitely helped the stigma, it didn't completely get rid of it. The community is still dealing with these issues. You know, conversion therapy, while outlawed in some states, still exists. You know, thoughts of LGBT individuals being sick still exists in some groups. And I feel like to combat these issues, you know, those who are passionate about LGBT health and LGBT rights need to continue to be fighting for that, being out, loud, proud, and pushing against the regression that we're kind of seeing right now. And obviously that's not possible for everybody. Not to be on a soapbox, you know, it's not feasible for every person. But I do think one of the studies did say that young LGBT individuals were the ones experiencing the most stress. And it might be good for these mental health outcomes for young LGBT and adolescent LGBT individuals to be able to see that there are still options, you know, that people are still fighting for their rights, that sort of thing, and trying to push back against discrimination, which is a lot of what we saw in the readings and the audio podcasts. And I think that's all I have to say on this week. I look forward to hearing from everybody and reading next week's stuff. Have a good night.